Congratulations, we made it to episode 2.
Yes.
That's the good news. And I hope you like our new set. We added a quarter of Morgan's head to the frame because we just thought that was the cheapest upgrade to make.
Yeah, but now the zombies can't have lunch.
Oh, well. Life has its downsides, buddy.
Unlife in that case.
Okay, unlife.
And speaking of things with
rain?
Speaking of things with no freaking life, this movie was not good. It was.
Please do tell.
It was meandering. It spent so much time on the stuff that was boring and we didn't really need to know. Almost all of the fun things were incredibly short or very small. Like, for instance, I'm gonna interpose something. Not interpose. Intersect. Whatever. In certain places, I'm gonna say, here's what I liked about it. So, for instance, I did like the opening credits. They were very stylized. I liked the whole blood molding thing. I thought that was interesting and kind of fun.
Like the opening credits kind of thing?
Yeah, the opening credits. I thought that was cool. However, I hated how they added this weird. There was already a supernatural twist to the original Crow at the very end of it, where it's like, I want the power of the Crow. But this one, it starts out with, hey, the bad guy's all supernatural and immortal because of making a deal with a devil or the devil to send innocent people to hell so he can stay on Earth. And
it was a complicated, unnecessarily complicated plot that you could drive a freaking Mack truck through.
Okay,
holes that you could drive.
I didn't even get to the annoyingly complicated part. It was annoyingly complicated because in the original, here's how it was. Really, really, really bad thing happened. So he gets brought back to life a year later to get vengeance and right the wrong things.
Yeah.
Or make the wrong things right, as it was said. In this one, it was he got brought back because he loved her so dearly and so purely to make this wrong thing right. But then it turns out that because of a video where she got mind controlled into killing somebody else, the love didn't become as pure, so he lost his powers and then made a deal to send her soul into heaven while he went to hell. And it was this whole overcomplicated mess. Just keep it simple of, hey, he's back to life, the Crow lets him basically be immortal. That was simple, that was fun, and we got to the fun parts. This whole thing, I spent the entire first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie thinking, okay, when are we going to get to the sign that actually makes me want to stay awake from this? I never fall asleep during movies. This movie, I started to just doze off on.
Okay. I think this movie's got problems with its bones.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a myriad of problems with this movie. It was epically boring to me, first of all. But it was so poorly written. It was such a shitty script, and that anytime you start off with a really bad script, it was really bad. It was sophomore writing.
Yep.
But the other problem was, and that was where it was already off on the wrong foot. The other problem was, and this should have been the crux of the thing, is the chemistry between the female lead, what was her name,
FKA Twigs.
FKA Twigs. That's gonna drive me crazy.
Yeah, I know, but we'll deal with it.
Okay. FKA Twigs and Bill Skarsgård, it wasn't there, dude.
Yeah, they tried.
There was no sexual chemistry there. I didn't feel any love between them. It just felt like...
It felt like they really tried to force the whole, oh, they're so in love, by just having them bang every chance they get. And while that can work if there is chemistry, of just oh, look how much these people love each other. Here it's just okay, we get it, you like to bang. Can we please do something else? Can you show that, hey, maybe they enjoy pottery together? Something that isn't just drugs and sex.
Dude, this isn't Ghost, okay?
I never said it had to be the ghost pottery, but you know what I mean. Something.
It was, you know what it was? It was like a manufactured chemistry that wasn't there. Okay, let me just take a step back for a second. Their meet cute moment was terrible. It was so fucking weird. By the way, what was the whole point of the horse in the beginning?
I don't know.
Was that supposed to be the traumatizing thing that made him go into this? By the way, what was that facility? Was it a prison? Was it a
it's like-
psychiatric
It's like
facility?
a psychiatric rehab facility, from what I can understand.
That they have low jacks on their that they gotta have on their damn ankles. That was the easiest to escape.
Yeah. What else? I also didn't really understand the need for that. It's just like, okay, we're gonna have them meet in the rehab facility. Why? Why?
I don't know, but it was part prison, part rehab facility. I don't know how she ended up there, but they also were the most brainless couple I ever thought. Okay, how they escaped out of that place was like, why wouldn't they have done that sooner? It was so ill-conceived. It made no sense. It wasn't explained why it was there, and the rules of it were stupid. It was co-ed.
Even though they weren't supposed to mingle with each other, which doesn't make
Nobody was stopping it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can't mingle with that person. All right, well, we're not gonna have anybody watching you, so you can literally go wherever you want, whenever you want, do whatever you want. It makes no sense. It's one of the least secure places I've ever seen, and oh my gosh.
The fact that they were able to escape it so easily.
Yeah, they
and
just slipped
that,
it off and
like
everything.
how they were supposed to bond. It was so manufactured and so forced. It was so frustrating and irritating, and I was pissed off. And at that point, once I knew that the chemistry wasn't there, like she comes out, she goes like they've been stomping through the woods, right?
Yeah.
And they escaped from a mental health facility that nobody's saying shit about.
Yeah.
They're trying to escape some supposedly really high-powered devil proxy guy, evil proxy guy.
And then they just run up and it's like, hey, stop, and they just hit you right with the first.
Yes, they hitch a ride, and they're wearing like pink pajamas, basically.
Yeah,
and they're
which-
like, yeah, come on in.
Roads like that, they normally have a sign that's like, warning, hitchhikers may be escaping patients or whatever. Like that's...
Yeah, something like that. And not to mention the fact that they immediately go back to the city that they escaped from.
Or that
to
she
the
escaped
place.
from. The same place where she's like, I need to get the hell away from here because, oh, it's so awful. This guy's evil and he's killing people. And
like they wouldn't have the resources to find out where she was and knew shit about her. Plus, just as a quick aside, this movie was filled with the most forgettable minions. I could not tell you one name of any of them.
no.
It was cluttered with them, and they were terrible actors.
And every single time, it's like, okay, we're getting somewhere, the plot's moving. They then spend 5 minutes with these artsy-fartsy shots of like, look at how pretty this is. And I'm like, dude, go stroke your own ego at your own time and make sure the grass suck.
Damn, dude, that's a little X-rated
That's what
there,
That's
brother.
what it feels like. It's like, just
Okay.
get to the freaking point.
Look, I get the underworld thing. By the way, sometimes exposition.
Exposition made this movie worse.
It made it worse. It was so muddled and
didn't
unnecessary, and
all
it's
of this-
subtracted from the movie.
Yeah, all of this was like, oh, let me explain everything going on of, oh, sometimes crows, they take this, and then you're going to go back, and if you can defeat them and kill them while you still have a pure love for her, you can bring her back. Like, okay, they're changing this up, but I guess we're going to get the Scooby-Doo mega, or the Wayne's World mega happy ending here. Alright, whatever.
It also took him an hour to quote unquote become the Crow.
Yeah, it took an
and
hour.
not even with the makeup and shit.
Yeah, no.
And let me just say this: I like Bill Skarsgård. I like him as an actor. I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
He was bad in this.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not. Listen, I understand that he wasn't given a lot to work with.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like
a good actor can make a bad script better. They can't make it great if it's that bad,
dude,
but he
I did not at any point root for him. I did not feel. Okay, let's go back to the original Crow for a second. Basically, every relationship thing that we see between Eric Draven and Shelley Webster are in flashbacks.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah, and it shows the dude is kind of kooky, a little weird, but they're very
Yeah,
loving
but
for each
they're
other.
very in love. They're on the verge of their wedding,
Yes.
which adds to the tragedy of
Yes,
it.
it makes it like, no!
Now that they're both living in poverty, okay? We don't get a backstory. We just know that they love each other. And that's
Eric's
really
a
all you
musician.
need. Huh?
We know Eric's a musician, but we don't need to know all this extra information. We don't need to know that, he writes poetry and da-da-da-da and all this and this. It's just, there's too much backstory in this movie at the very front of it where it's like, I don't need to know this. All I need to know about this movie is Eric and Shelley are deeply in love, they're very happy together, and then they both get axed off by this horrid evil son.
And by the way, one of the things that was the whole premise of The Crow is sometimes something so bad happens that they come back. Okay, listen, murder's bad. It's bad, okay? The way they were killed was a really shitty, for a movie as graphically violent, and it was gratuitously violent.
Yeah, as soon as they got past the whole, the what's her, Zazie, whatever, Zadie, when she stabbed herself in the neck at the start, I'm like, okay, that's a bit much blood. It feels like I'm watching Sweeney Todd, but whatever, it's kind of fun. But then, when they killed them with the
badge, what was the point of that?
I don't know. But here's the thing: they killed them with the bags. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's a little bit lame. But as soon as they got out of the bags, then it's just like, okay, we're going to spend the rest of our budget on all the blood we possibly can and all the gore, and just some of it was like you said, it was really gratuitous. Like at the first time he's like, I'm immortal. He's like got to push part of himself back in. It's like that's just gross.
It was gross. Listen, I'll give it credit for actually hurting the guy and showing that. That was the only thing that was unique about this movie.
To me, what I saw in the first one was, yes, it hurt, but he was so emotionally, I don't want to say emotionally dead. He still very much had emotion, but he was so focused on these people need to suffer for what they did to me and my love.
Yes,
that he
listen, that was we talked about it before, but that was a smaller contained movie. Maybe by restriction of budget, maybe because it's just a more intimate story, it makes for better storytelling. But this movie was so cluttered with so many unnecessary characters that took away from everybody else that I was just like, oh, okay. Eric Draven in this movie, he's an idiot. Mm-hmm. He was dumb and lucky as hell, despite this, because whenever he conveniently needed to come across somebody he had to kill, they were just there. Yep. It wasn't that he was like did some like low-level detective work. It was just like
hunt them down. He didn't do anything. He just was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna walk to this rogue thing, and then the guy he's looking for is right there. Here's what really gets me is he gets the power to be invincible. He can heal from anything. And what does he do for the first hour and for the first day he's got that power? He just wanders around.
There's no urgency in this movie.
Yeah, no. And it's not a hunt for vengeance, it's a paddling along of, oh yeah, there's a dude, boom.
And I never felt like his love was so deep and pure for this girl.
Nope.
Because, listen, okay, they spent a good 45 minutes on their shitty love story. Mm-hmm. Okay? But you said something there, and I got the point of it. It was like, well, show them doing pottery. Okay, well, maybe not show them doing pottery, but at least in the original one, there's a sense of playfulness that comes with, a couple that's in love and likes being around each other. Yeah. They were just like, quick. Okay, remember? Okay, so they sort of stomp into the woods. They stink to all hell. They're gross, and she goes, "You stink," and then they proceed to have sex. And, they hadn't taken a shower. They both were pristine, by the way.
Yeah, no, I know. Also, here's something that bothers me. We see Eric once he gets the immortal powers and everything, he gets thrown out of. Firstly, he sucks. This Eric sucks. He gets his. Okay, I understand the whole. Oh, he's immortal. He doesn't need to worry about fighting. At the very least, would you make this guy not look like a chump? I could fight better than this loser. And
he didn't get any supernatural fighting powers, just healing powers.
Yeah, I know.
And I was just like, oh, here we go.
But here we go. He doesn't even. The only time he uses that to his advantage is at the very end.
And here's the other thing. He did not have presence in this movie.
No.
There was no intensity. This is an underrated thing about Brandon Lee's performance in the original Crow. There's a level of warmth there. There's an access point for the audience with Ernie Hudson and the little girl, but there's charisma. He oozes charisma and warmth. They just picked him because he looks good with his shirt off. He's a cool-looking guy and everything.
Okay, here's the thing. Eric Draven in the original, you could tell. While he probably had some type of weirdness to him, he was a little odd probably, he was a good man. Because there's that one bit in the original where it's Halloween night, the kids are running around, and he sees the kids running around in their costume. He's just lying. He's like, yeah, you know what, this is a good thing. He's enjoying. He has this warmth to him. He's a good person. I don't know who the hell this guy was, other than he really liked this one Shelly chick.
And you know what? I never felt like, okay, if we're living in this mystical world where the crow can bring you back, of all the tragedies and terrible, horrible things that are so bad that happened, they chose this guy? And the acting was so bad. And what's her face? She's not good in this. She was boring too. She was stale. It was stagnant.
Everyone was
The
stale
whole movie
and
felt
boring.
like stagnant water.
Yeah, here's the thing. My main thought for most of this movie was that Monty Python skit of "Get on with it."
On with it. Yes, get on with it.
Get on with it. Get to the fun part.
Okay, so what's the actor's name? The other villain. His last name's Houston. John Houston, or
I think so. Something like that. Let me pull it up really quick. Danny Houston.
Danny Houston. This has been like, this is a mail-in performance with a completely boring, underwritten villain that was totally forgettable. Dude, compare this guy to Top Dollar.
Yeah, Top Dollar was
Top Dollar
fun.
was chewed up the scenery.
Yes,
it
he
was fun.
He was.
Dude, at no point in this movie did I have fun.
Yeah, no.
Never.
The
did I have
closest to
fun.
fun I had was when I was giggling at the scene where he's got a freaking it's not a katana because it's too short. It's like a kodachi. Where he got the kodachi and he's walking down with the makeup and the trench coat and all the things that were, and people are just giving him a look, and it's supposed to be this thing of, oh, he's on a mission. And all you think is, my guy, you look like you're going to for Insane Clown Posse concert, but you're going there to start a fight. Like, dude.
Okay,
Ugh.
let's take a quick moment and talk about something. It was asinine, the finale.
It was absolutely
Because are you telling me, with this massive amount of gunshots, even in an opera house, outside of an
nobody
opera
heard
house,
anything.
nobody heard anything. And what was the point at all of him walking on stage and with these two severed heads and throwing them into the audience? Other than to stir the you know, it was a sock for the director.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a great idea, guys. We're gonna light him from the front so he'll
You know
blow
what
up
would
from
make,
the...
here's an idea that would have made that better. What if it's like this guy is the main bad guy is an eccentric, he's eccentric. He's like, I'm gonna take all my goons. We're all gonna go to the opera. We're gonna fill this place, and we're gonna watch an opera because I am eccentric and I have money. And then he walks out with the two lieutenant heads and throws it, and that's
That
when
would have been awesome.
Yes, and have all of his people be like, oh god, he killed the two big people, and they abandon the bad guy, and they have their final battle right there on stage. That would have been awesome.
It would have been awesome, but even if he had made that choice, he was such an incompetent fighter in this.
Oh
it
my
was just
God.
like, let's find ways to show as much blood as possible. Now listen,
Yeah.
I like good, justified violence,
Yeah.
but it got
This
cartoon.
movie
It was cartoonish.
It was brutal. I will say
It was brutal as hell.
But here's the thing: as a nerd who loves swords, I will say this: this loser was just flailing like, No, if you're gonna hack someone's arm off, you gotta hurt him. You gotta give some oomph in that. You really gotta put your ass into it. He did not have an ass to put into this here. He just had bullets coming out of every hole, and it sucked.
He's like, and remember when he was like the first to say, I need a gun. Okay.
Here's the thing: if it was you have 6 bullets in this gun, I'm like, okay, 6 bullets, and just say there were 6 people there. He was gonna have a single bullet for each person.
That would have been
poetic and really cool. Like,
and really cool. Is like, how would he have done it?
Yes.
Maybe he misses one of them and then kills them in some other way.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was the most and it was sloppy directing and it was sloppy writing. I'm sure the guy had in his head visuals that he wanted to do, and he goes, "This would be cool on screen. Let me see how I can jam this foot into this this too small of a shoe."
The other problem I had was this felt like generic city number 7,824. It was just a random city. There was no feel to it.
There was no the movie
grind.
but the thing is, it was uninspired and it had no style.
Yep. And except for Eric's style at the very end, which I can't. Oh my god, he looked so stupid. It's like, this is his awesome, badass look. No! You look like a spirit Halloween clown.
Dude, what about him walking down the street and nobody fucking doing anything?
Yeah, no.
It was like, huh? One person was like, huh?
Yeah, a few people were like,
what are you doing walking down the street like this?
No.
Going to an opera, nobody's saying shit?
No, here's what he should have. Again, go back to Brandon Lee. When Brandon Lee was moving around, he was in the shadows. He was coming out of the darkness. He was like,
Yeah, it was like a phantom.
Yeah, he was a phantom. He
And,
had
and
some-
matter of fact, it was the mysteriousness of the deaths that elevated the legend and the stakes of the movie.
Yeah,
you know, he gradually gets to the villain. I mean, to the main guy.
And when he has that whole fight scene, like I said in the first one, I complained about the choppy editing and everything, and that is something that this movie has going for it, is it doesn't have that really shaky cam and super choppy editing. It's very clear what's going on in all the fight scenes, and I did like how later in the movie, when he gets shot and, you know, it splatters on the back of the wall or something, it is black blood. I thought that was a fun touch. But at the same time, the rest of the fighting, like I said, he's just flailing with that little Kodachi.
What about that scene that we both, like, predicted, like Spider-Man and shit?
Yes.
We both like, what did I do in the theater?
That's another thing that I hated. His whole, like, the bad guy, he's got this thing where, like, whispers in someone's ears and they corrupts them and makes them do bad things. I freaking hated that because that makes him boring. He's not a Machiavellian mastermind. He just, like, you just come up here, mama, let me whisper in your ear. And there you go.
This movie.
And the thing we're talking about where we predicted was, you know, he whispers in Shelley's mom's ear. I don't know why she was even in the movie, but whatever.
I don't
and
know,
and as she was walking around, I'm like, oh, she's gonna jump out the window. She's gonna jump out the window. You were even like, she's gonna fall right behind.
I just went, and I saw him walking towards the camera, and after he had said whatever he said into her ears, the devil talking, I went, and boom. And then right after that, she hits the concrete.
Yeah. I would have said it would have been more entertaining for her to land on a car. There was no car there, I understand, but it would have at least been a
They
thing.
put all their budget into the tattoos in this movie. This something really irritated the shit out of me, and part of it is because I'm a Christian. I don't mind watching movies where there's evil in it, but there's a fundamental problem with saying these people go into hell when they're being proxies for the devil to kill.
Okay, I have nothing to say about that because I don't know much about Christianity.
It doesn't, but the thing about it is, you do know that even if you don't understand the basics of Christianity, you understand that we have free will, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, wait, hang on. And by taking that free will, that wouldn't send them to hell.
There you go. When you take the free will, they are no longer responsible. That's not a sin. That's not. It's a sin to kill somebody. But when you are being specifically used as an instrument for the devil to kill people, and you're going to hell for that, you're literally operating as a limb for evil.
And here's the thing that I'm
Not as a choice to be.
I think they kind of understood that, or kind of explained that away, where it's like he whispers into them and he like finds the darkest part of you and makes it grow louder and louder until you do something horrible.
Oh yeah, but
I kind of see the wiggle room there, but I agree with you that it's really friggin'
dude,
dumb.
it was such a stretch.
You know what could have been interesting?
What?
If instead that he had to kill people with like that specific dagger, the Rondell dagger, which by the way, that is a fun little reference to a question of how old is this guy that he has an actual Rondell dagger that is like medieval timed weapon. Because that's how they would kill knights, is they would get him on the ground and jab him with that in the like joints of the armor.
There's a certain point where the details of what is cool and what is everything else gets lost because.
Oh, don't get me wrong. This doesn't do anything to boost the score of the movie. It's still awful, but
I mean,
I understand that there was always going to be people who didn't like this movie because there are always going to be people who are like, no, it sucks because it's a remake. This was not bad because it was a remake. This was bad in general. And here's the thing, it's worse because it's a remake. Because we have the original.
It's worse because it's a remake. It's worse because the original is a beloved cult classic, and it is a legitimately good movie. Like fun and enjoyable and touching in a lot of places, which a kick-ass soundtrack. There was a couple of songs in this movie I thought were cool. It was excruciatingly boring to sit through. And I felt like giving it a big to the screen.
I normally love action. Like, I'm normally able to turn on my brow and just enjoy the pretty lights, like I said before. And I normally can, bypass bad movie for good action. But this action was boring.
Boring,
You can
man.
have fun with an immortal character, fighting people like they
I
had
was-
fun in the original. They had fun with Deadpool.
I was most disappointed by Bill Skarsgård though.
Yeah.
I like Bill Skarsgård. He's really cool, but I just felt none of his intensity.
Yeah, no.
I felt like he was mailing it in. I felt like Danny Houston was like, it was Danny Houston, cookie cutter villain 101, collect the paycheck and eat craft services.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
The only reason I remember his name is because it's easy to remember. It's Rogue, and because it's just such a boring villain name. Money Top. What the heck kind of name is Money Top?
well, you
You
mean
remember- From the original.
Top Dollar?
Top Dollar, yes. Like, that's a weird name for a dude. But you know what? It's kooky, it's crazy, it's weird, and he's having fun with it. This guy is just, oh, let me be all quiet and suave. Oh, blah, 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 even small, blah, blah, blah. It just, I don't like this movie. I
All
do not
right.
like it.
Final thoughts.
Bad movie. If there had been a sword fight between him and the Crow, between the two of them at the very end, or at least like a dagger fight with their two little swords, I could have been.
Come on.
I could have been like, hey, if it was good, I would be like, okay, that was a highlight of the movie. Also, swords don't work that way. With the amount of blood on that blade, it would have been dull as dirt, especially since he started out with the sword by stabbing it into a solid surface. That would have just broken the blade.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you for Swordcraft 101.